Wonderhussy here. You know, there's a lot of downsides to being cooped up in isolation during this coronavirus quarantine. I mean, as nice as my isolation headquarters out here in Tecopa are, I'm still getting antsy. But hey, the bright side is all this time stuck around the house gives me plenty of time to focus on some of my hobbies, like finally learning to play this guitar one of my fans sent me. Gosh, probably over 2 years ago, somebody sent me this guitar, and well, I guess normally I'm so busy running around having adventures shooting videos that I've never really gotten around to learning how to play it. Until now. Anyway, I thought it might be kind of interesting to do a video showing you exactly how I am filling my days during this coronavirus quarantine. I mean, like I said, and like I showed you guys in my last video about this place, I have an awesome setup for my isolation, my quarantine. I'm staying out here in Tecopa. I've got the beautiful desert all around me. I've got 2 private hot springs to soak in. I'm really lucky and I'm not complaining. But like I also just said, well, I am getting kind of antsy. So I've found that one of the things that helps me get through this quarantine period is, well, trying to keep to a routine, because that way, you know, I don't get distracted by all my mini hobbies. I make a little bit of time for each one of them. So I thought it might be kind of interesting to make a video showing a typical day in the life of my quarantine. A typical day in the quarantine life out here in Tecopa, California, well, for me, doesn't actually begin too early. I'm also using this coronavirus quarantine period to catch up on my sleep. So I generally haven't been waking up until about 7:30, maybe even 8 o'clock in the morning. And well, there's plenty of sunlight in my bedroom, so that generally wakes me up even through my sleeping mask. I get up, I go out, I brush my teeth, I get a cup of coffee, and I go outside to face the day. One of the biggest challenges for all of us in this quarantine is getting enough physical exercise. Or, well, that's certainly been a challenge for me anyways. So one of the things I try to do first thing every morning is go for a walk with Barry, the Australian beast, up this hill right across from the house. There's this little hill with a cross at the top of it, and it's got a little trail all the way up to the top. And, well, it's just a nice way to get my legs moving, get my heart pumping, breathe in some fresh air, get some sunshine, and start the day. Not sure who placed this cross here. It says, Mary's Hill, Pray the Rosary. So apparently it's named after somebody named Mary. But it's just a great place to, well, it's a great place to take a look around and see what's going on and start the day. This is just an awesome 360-degree view of where I've been hanging out. This is Tecopa. Well, actually, there's another pretty big section of town. If you continue taking that road over the hills, about 2 miles down that way, is where the post office and the brewery and stuff is. And a lot of people live over there in what's called Tecopa Heights. But this is the Hot Springs district. So these are where all the campgrounds are and all the hot pools. And you can see these campgrounds this time of year are normally jam-packed with snowbirds, travelers, nomads, van dwellers, adventurers, but relatively empty right now. In fact, right down below us there, that's the county bathhouse where there's a hot springs for men and women on each side and showers and such. That's totally closed. I think they still have the showers open for anybody who's staying at the campground, but the campground is closed to any new visitors. Only people who were already here when the shelter-in-place order hit. So they keep the showers open for them, but the pools aren't open. In fact, all the hot springs are closed. You can see there's a couple other campgrounds, and then down over here on the right there, that's Delight's Hot Spring Resort, and that's closed too. There is nowhere in town you can get a soak. In fact, even the natural hot spring, which you can see, oh gosh, there's a little spot of green out there. Even that got shut down by the sheriff last week. So unless you're lucky like me and Barry and have your own private hot spring to soak in, there ain't no soaking in Tecopa right now. Anyway, this is the main highway through town, and there's, well, I don't know if you can see my rig parked there at Barry's house. So it's not very far. You can pretty much walk anywhere in town. And boy, there's not much else to do but go for walks nowadays. Everything's closed. sit down and get a sip of coffee. Barry, what are you thinking about?
Well, actually today is the 5th of April in Australia, where my daughter in Perth is about to give birth, so I'm about to become a grandfather, I think.
Your daughter in Perth is about to give birth?
Well, I haven't heard yet. I'm hoping to hear, but apparently it's going to be in the next 24 hours, yeah.
Well, your daughter in Perth will be happy to give birth to reduce her girth. For what it's worth. Well, congratulations, Barry. That's cool.
Thank you.
Barry, you need a cigar.
You know, I do need a cigar. I can't go out and get any.
Send cigars! SOS! Well, actually that does suck because he can't go down to be with his daughter. This is his only child and it's her first baby. And, well, it would be nice to be able to be there at the birth, wouldn't it, Barry? Anyway, after we hang out on top of the hill for a while, we head back down to the house, enjoying the awesome springtime weather and all the beautiful desert wildflowers that start popping out this time of year. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous in the desert right now, usually in the upper 60s or lower 70s during the day, and it's just friggin' awesome to be out in the sunshine. I really feel bad for people who are stuck inside their apartments in New York City or wherever, because I would go nuts. Man, there's nobody here! Where is everyone? Sometimes I feel like I'm the only person left on this planet. So when we get back from the walk up the hill, I like to sit out on the porch in front of Barry's house and drink a cup of coffee, drink another cup of coffee, and just kind of check my email, go through my stuff on my phone, and, well, get ready for the work day ahead. And sitting on Barry's porch is awesome because it faces the highway, and you get to watch all the traffic going by, which, well, right now there really isn't very much traffic because of the epidemic, but whatever traffic there is, we can watch that go by. So it's kind of an interesting place to sit and drink my morning coffee. After I spend about an hour or so checking my email, going through all my social media stuff, well, it's time to get some work done. Just because there's a pandemic going on doesn't mean I can take a break. I have plenty of videos that I've already shot that are in the can waiting for me to edit and upload. So I generally go inside around 10 o'clock in the morning into my satellite office here at my coronavirus isolation headquarters and, well, do some work editing. I have a little desk set up in there and it's actually pretty comfortable. So, oh gosh, I usually spend about 2-3 hours working on videos until 1 o'clock. I think I've mentioned this in other videos. I try to do what's called intermittent fasting. It's kind of a diet or an eating lifestyle where you fast your body for part of the day. So I try to eat all my calories between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. in an 8-hour window. It kind of helps me, you know, keep my girlish figure, I guess you could say. Because that's another issue we all face during this quarantine is, gosh, stuck around the house all day with all that food and snacks. Well, I've seen some pictures where people are gaining some weight from this quarantine, and I don't want to be one of them, so I make sure I don't eat anything. I just drink black coffee until 1 p.m., at which time I take a break for lunch, and Barry is always kind enough to make something, usually a little pizza and a smoothie with lots of fresh fruits and veggies in it. So I take a break and I go into the living room to have lunch, and I also like to take advantage of the break to catch up on the news. Now, I don't like to watch too much of the news because I feel like that just leads you into a state of fear and paranoia, you know, because it's, well, let's be honest, it's pretty much nothing but bad news on TV nowadays. So I don't want to sit around and obsess about it. But at the same time, I do like to stay informed as to what's going on in the world. So I sort of figure watching about a half hour's worth of news at lunchtime is a nice compromise. Now, after lunch, rather than go back to work, I try to break things up by taking some time to practice one of my hobbies, like either play the guitar for a little while or try using my metal detector, which unfortunately is proving to be a lot more complicated than it looks on TV and in the movies. Part of that is because, well, there's a lot of old metal detritus, like nails and such, on Barry's property. So it seems like the thing is constantly going off, and then it's always just a nail or a bobby pin or, you know, something not that useful. In fact, the only cool thing I found with my metal detector so far is this old Ham's beer can, which I think is actually pretty cool because, first of all, it's a pull tab, so it's pretty old. And secondly, because it was completely buried underground, it still has all its color on it. So even though this isn't worth any money, it's the most interesting thing I've found so far. Then around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, after I've had enough of hobbies, well, I try to get some exercise. I mean, hiking up that hill in the morning is a good way to get my blood pumping in the morning, but it's not really that big of a calorie burner. And, well, I'm pretty vain and I do take my fitness pretty seriously. And I'm really lucky in that I have all these beautiful wide open spaces out here. I'm not cooped up in an apartment in the city. So I try to take advantage of that by either going for a run, which I friggin' hate, but so I still do it. Or I started going for bike rides, riding my bike around. Because that's another, I guess you could call it a silver lining to this pandemic is, gosh, there's hardly any traffic out here at all. So I can just ride my bike up and down the highway. Easy as you please. And there's also plenty of cool dirt roads around here. So because I have a mountain bike, well, there's a lot of options. So I generally ride around for about a half hour to an hour. And then I'll come back and do a quick weightlifting session in the pool house. Because Barry has a little weightlifting machine, like a gym out there. So I just do like a quick 10-15 minute weightlifting routine. Just to keep everything where it should be. And then finally, when I'm done with my bike riding and weightlifting, and I've worked on editing videos, I've metal detected, I've practiced the guitar, I've watched the news. Now it's time to relax with a nice, peaceful soak in the outdoor natural hot spring here. Like I said in my first quarantine video, I like the outdoor pool much better than the indoor pool, especially this time of year because, oh my God, it's just so beautiful out here. And after a quick soak, it's time for a delicious dinner. And well, this is the time of day when I really indulge my guilty pleasure and watch Tiger King. Joe Exotic. That's what I'm watching right now on Netflix. Before this, we watched McMillions, a really interesting 6-part documentary about these people that scammed the McDonald's Monopoly game back in the 90s and 2000s. That was amazing. And before that, we watched Chernobyl, which was an amazing miniseries all about the friggin' nuclear meltdown in Russia. So basically, after dinner, maybe an hour or two of television. And then it's time for bed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed a peek inside my day-to-day life as a prisoner of the coronavirus. I know, like I said, I have it a lot better than a lot of people do. I have nothing to complain about. I'm certainly not complaining. But even those of us who are cooped up in apartments or homes in the city, well, gosh, even that's really nothing to complain about. If you think about like these people that are on death row or political prisoners or whatever that have to live their entire lives in jail cells, think about how miserable that would be. So at least we're able to watch TV and read books and hula hoop or practice the guitar, go online, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff we can do. It's just, well, I know how it is, man. I'm an adventurer, and I really miss being out and about. Anyway, like I said, I have plenty of videos still in the can from before the quarantine, so I should have enough to keep uploading new adventures for, well, several more weeks to come. So, hey, stay tuned, and I'll see you next Wednesday.